Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I wanted to make a video on how I usually explain the steps that somebody can take towards investing if somebody is maybe on the fence or just thinking about investing in something. So today we're going to use the example of investing in crypto. Okay, so the first step, so there's really three steps that lead you to the last step, which is the actual act of investing. So the first step is exposure, right? So you have to be exposed to something to obviously know what it is. Okay, so when did you first hear about crypto? When was the first time you heard about Bitcoin? The first time that I heard about Bitcoin was in 2012. And in 2012, each Bitcoin was, I think it was either nine to $12, something like that. Fast forward to now, each Bitcoin is worth, I think 56,000 at the time of this video. Okay, so obviously, back then I was exposed to it. I even had a couple of friends who were mining Bitcoin and who were invested in it, but it just blew over my head. Okay, um, like I said, 6 or 7 years ago, if I'm having a conversation with friends or family about it, it was very vague. It was very I guess surface level. And if you think about it, I'm sure there's some of you that are listening that probably had conversations about it, you know, a while ago and wish that you had gotten into the space. But we never left the exposure stage, if that makes sense. We knew what it was, right? For some reason, it didn't pique our interest enough to look into it further. Okay, um, if you were to ask any investor that's worth anything, they're going to tell you that they pay attention to what's trending. Okay, so when I started investing in the traditional market in 2011, I would do that. I would pay attention to, real estate. Over the years, I've purchased, you know, a few properties, and that's what I was into. I was into real estate. I had, stocks and bonds and stuff like that. A lot of the traditional investment vehicles. But I never really dived into, I guess tech, and I think that's probably the main reason why um, I never furthered my education when it came to Bitcoin. I just thought, I heard about it. It was digital money. You can use it online. People were comparing it to the U.S. dollar, but I never looked at it. I never viewed it as an investment vehicle because I didn't go on to the next step, which is education. Okay, so once you're exposed to something, we'll move on to the second step. Education is the second step. So once you're exposed to something, and once you kind of realize, hey, this is something that that's trending first and foremost. I'm starting to see it more often. Okay, going back to 5 or 6 years ago, you would hear about Bitcoin, on the news, or you would see it online, or you would see it in advertisement on YouTube. You would see it every so often, but now I can say that I see it everywhere. I see it on mainstream media, which is, in my opinion, garbage. But I see it there. I see it on CNBC, NBC. Pick a news station. They're talking about Bitcoin. They're talking about cryptocurrencies. They're talking about countries and banks issuing their own digital currencies. They're even talking about the U.S. dollar going digital, right? So it's everywhere now. The second step is very important because once you start to educate yourself, once you start to learn what Bitcoin is, or once you start to learn what some of these technologies are, or really anything, right? Once you start educating yourself on something, you're going to see its value. And once you start to see its value, especially if you're kind of framing that thing that you're educating yourself on as a possible investment, that light bulb's going to go off in your head, and you're going to realize, wow, this is something that I should further my education on, but this is something I can potentially make money with. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you hear me talking about something. It doesn't matter if you hear a family or a friend talking about something. If they're telling you to invest in something, or if they're trying to educate you on something, even if it's something that can possibly help you presently or even in the future, none of that is going to click until that little light bulb goes off into your own and goes off in your own little head, and you realize on your own that this makes sense. And I had a conversation with one of my best friends the other day about this. It's not going to make sense until that light bulb goes off in their own head. Now, another thing that what we're talking about is I try to educate family and friends, and throughout the years, it doesn't necessarily like you almost become discouraged, right? Not that I haven't stopped, but when I started investing specifically in crypto, I was, like I said, I was in the traditional stock market since 2011. I got into crypto and started investing in digital assets and cryptocurrencies in 2015. So I've been in the crypto market for about 6 years. And when I finally started educating myself on some of these new technologies, I viewed it as the internet. I viewed it as the dawn of the internet and the .com era, where you had, Amazon, you had eBay, you had, some of these things and some of these markets and industries that were being created right before our eyes. And I always thought to myself, this is the next thing. This is the next .com era, and a lot of people don't like that analogy. I like it, and it's a good way to compare the two spaces on the surface level, because they're not. It's kind of like apples and oranges to a certain extent, but in a lot of ways they're very similar. But I view it as that era. And if I could rewind time, and I'm sure if you could rewind time and go back and say invest in an Amazon, or invest in a Facebook, or invest in pick a very large blue chip company or whatever, I'm sure you would do it. And I would try to explain that to sorry, that was my cat. I try to explain it to family or friends, and like I said before, it won't click for them unless that little light bulb goes off in their head. Okay, so that's education. So once you educate yourself, you're going to realize, like I said before, you're going to realize the value behind Bitcoin, or behind something that you possibly want to invest in. Okay, the next step is applicability. So you were exposed to it, you educated yourself, you came to the realization that, this is something that's going to stick around, this is something that I can make money with. Applicability, how does that relate to you? How can you apply it to your own, to yourself, right? Well, if you're viewing Bitcoin, or if you're viewing a digital asset or a digital currency as an investment vehicle, then it's applicable to you as an investment, okay? Then you just essentially, that's it, right? You identified what it is, you've educated yourself on it. Now you're kind of looking at it and you're saying, well, how does this apply to me? Well, I can invest in it and I can make money. Okay, so that's that level, right? Which ultimately leads to investing, okay? Now, when it comes to education and applicability, what I hear a lot is, I don't have the time, and this is something that I really wanted to touch on. I don't have the time to educate myself. And I'm going to use a very specific example. I had a friend of mine who was telling me that he was busy, and he didn't have time to to look into some of these things. He was working 67 hours a week. He was coming home late, going to bed, and doing it over again 5-6 days a week, right? And I get that. I get people have lives, people get busy, they get busy with work, they get busy with family, absolutely, right? But at the same time, it's the same person who has time for football season. It's the same person that has time to buy car parts. It's the same person to work on their cars for hours. It's the same person that is on YouTube looking at videos. It's the same person that is sending me these videos. So when somebody is telling me that they don't have time to do something, okay, and this is what they're doing, and maybe you can relate to that. I don't know, maybe the light bulb went off in your head. Maybe you're thinking, I don't have time to educate myself. Well, if you have time to watch this video, you're educating yourself. So I asked this person, I go, So, you drive, I know you work, far, you drive about an hour a day to work, and then it takes you sometimes 2 hours a day to drive back, right? So let's just say an hour to work and an hour back. So what are you doing in the car when you're driving? Oh, I'm listening to the radio, I'm listening to music or whatever else. And I go, well, 1 hour a day, let's say 2 hours because you're driving back from work. 2 hours a day, you work 5 days a week. That's 10 hours a week. That's 40 hours a month, right? That's right. I did the math right. 2 hours a day, 10 hours. Okay, 40 hours a month. If I did the math wrong, let me know. 40 hours a month, right? That you don't even realize that you can take those 40 hours a month, those 2 hours a day that you're in the car. I'm pretty sure it's more than 2 hours a day of driving. Listen to a podcast. Listen to my YouTube channel, right? Educate yourself. Find the time. And then a little light bulb went off in his head, and I can see that I was making sense. But the idea that was so simple that he had hours in his car to educate himself, he didn't realize it. And why? I have no idea. So now he realizes he has 40 hours a month to educate himself when he's driving to work, right? And I knew in my head, once he starts to educate himself, right, with something that he's interested in investing in, because I told him about, Bitcoin and some of the other, digital currencies. I knew that once he started educating himself, because he was already exposed to it, he was going to be interested. And then he'll start moving up the ladder towards investing. And that's exactly what happened. Okay. Another thing when it comes to the last step is investing. What do I hear a lot? I don't have the money, right? Once again, if you have a family, you have bills to pay, you have kids, there's bills. Life happens, you have money, you need to spend it on certain things. I'm not saying that everybody has extra money lying around, but if you really think about some of the stuff that you buy, some of the stuff that you don't need, maybe a Starbucks, eating out all the time, maybe buying those extra car parts for your car. I did what I had to do. We did what we had to do for a good number of years in order to have the money to invest and then compound those investments to where I'm at today. Now, I'm not saying that, I have lots of money, but I'm saying that I'm a lot more comfortable than I was 5 years ago, and I'm going to be a lot more comfortable 5 years from now. I don't think people see the value in sacrificing now for the future, setting them up for the future. I think when most people hear, or when they're talking about investing, I think they want it now. Okay, they want it right now. And if they don't see that happening that fast, then they don't want to do it. And it makes no sense to me. I use an example of if somebody buys a coffee once a day, let's say 5-day work week, right? 5 times 5, coffee's what? Maybe $5 or $6. Let's say $5. Let's be conservative. Let's say $5. So they go every morning before work, they grab a coffee, $5, right? So 5 days a week, that's $25 a week. That's what? $100 a week. $25 a week, $100 a week. What's that? $400 a month, right? Do the math, right? 25 times 4. Okay. So $400 a month. $400 a month. That's like a car note. Okay. $400 a month. That is a car note. Okay. I'm sorry, $100 a month. $100 a month. Right? I don't know why what do I suck at math right now? Maybe I can't do math while I'm online. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just stupid. Okay, $100 a month. I'm sorry. I came up with 400. $100 a month. That's going to coffee, right? Does that make any sense to anybody? That $100 a month is going to a coffee when you can make coffee for a fraction of the cost at home. Let's say I know some people that do 2 cups of coffee or 2 Starbucks a day. What's that? $200 a month? But I don't have the money to invest, right? Or I want to buy something for my car, or I need to buy this new hat that came out, or these new clothes, or I need to go on vacation. And I'm not saying that, I'm not saying you shouldn't be doing any of those things. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you want to accomplish something, especially when it comes to investing, you have to sacrifice some of these things, okay? It's not just going to fall into your lap. So you don't have a coffee every day. You don't buy those new tires for your car. You don't buy an exhaust unless you need it. I mean, obviously I'm not saying, don't buy tires for your car, but just think about it. Just think about how much money you probably waste eating out all the time. Do you eat out all the time? On average, what does it cost for one person to eat out? $10, $9? I don't know. If you're doing that every day, $10 a day, 5 days, it's $50 a week. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that can be put towards investing, buying something that can make you money, buying something now that can make you money in the future. Okay? Just sit and think about it. If you're sitting there and you're listening to me talk and you're thinking, I want to invest, but I don't have the money to, right? And I know there's people out there that really don't have the money, okay? But you have to start somewhere. Start somewhere. And this card right here that you're seeing on the screen that says invest, it's the plants that are little tiny plants that are coming out of the coins. And you start here. You start here where my mouse is. This little tiny little thing, and it hasn't grown yet. That's your first investment, right? 1 year, 6 months later, 2 years later, 3 years later. You see how this is growing? Okay, you see how this is compounding? That's how it starts. It starts very small, but people can't see that. They don't see that. You can start with $20 a month. Start with $30 a month. And you guys have heard me say this before. If you want to buy a Bitcoin is what, $56,000. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can dollar cost average in. I have a video that's explaining what dollar cost averaging is. I'll put it at the end of this video. And essentially, it's just deciding on an amount of money that you're comfortable with spending every month on investing. And I've talked to a lot of friends, a lot of family, and they say, I don't have that much money to invest. You have $10, $20, $30. Open up an account. Dollar cost average in. Do your research on some of these platforms. Some of these newer, I think Robinhood, offers fractionalized stocks where, let's say, I believe an Amazon stock's like $2,000. You don't have to buy an entire Amazon stock. You can buy fractions of it, which is great because that's part of the whole idea of financial inclusion. You're including everybody in the economy in this market. You can do the same thing with crypto. You don't have to buy. You don't have to buy. You don't have to spend $10,000, $20,000. Who has that amount of money? I forget what the exact number is, but I believe it's a little less than 50% of Americans don't have $500 saved in their bank accounts for an emergency. $500, and I get that. Okay, I get that. But I'm tired of seeing people, especially people that I come across, saying that I don't have the money to invest, and I got new clothes, I got new cars, whatever. And I'm not, if that's what you want to do, that's your choice, right? I'm just giving you an example from my point of view, okay? Make the time, educate yourself, see how it applies to you, okay, and your family. Once you do those things, you're going to realize, okay, well, maybe you won't realize, but hopefully you do realize the value behind whether it's crypto or the value behind investing into some of these assets, or even just investing into yourself. Even if you're not buying crypto, even if you're not buying stocks or whatever, okay, make the time to invest in yourself, all right? And that is free, okay? Use the internet for something other than YouTube, okay? And educate yourself, all right? That doesn't cost anything. That's going to cost time, right? But how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? How bad do you want something? How many of you out there own houses? How many of you out there own cars? How many of you lease cars? How many of you rent? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? Instead of going on YouTube, the land of where everybody owns a Lamborghini, the land of where everybody's rich, and watching that for hours in a day, and making that, it's going to make you feel good, right? But at the end of the day, it leaves you empty. Go out and get some of that stuff. You got to start investing in yourself. And you have to start with seeing what's trending, which is exposure, educating yourself, seeing how that applies to you, and then making that decision to invest. Okay? But most importantly, if you get anything out of this video, invest in yourself. okay? Because most of the time that's free, all right? Anyways, this is kind of a long one, guys. Sorry, I kind of stumbled over my words during the video a little bit. I hope you guys really listened to what I had to say. Please share this video with somebody who you might think needs to hear something like this. You know, whether it's investing in crypto or investing in anything, even if it's just investing in themselves. All right. Please leave a like. Please subscribe. Share this video. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only.